Jose, we are picking up on Nun Zayin and Aleph, 57a, 21 lines up from the bottom. Haroa avaz b'chalom. If one sees a goose in a dream, yitzap l'chachma. He should await the arrival of wisdom. Shene'emar chachmos b'chutz tarona, because it says literally again, wisdom cries out in the public. Interesting, if one has a dream that he's having relations with a goose, have rosh yeshiva. That's a sign ultimately again that he is the Rosh Yeshiva. So what's the idea? The idea is obviously the act of relations represents like combining with something. The goose has a loud voice, so the Rosh Yeshiva is like the speaker for the people. Okay, Maravashi, Anira is erisi ubasi Allah. So Ashi says, I had a dream and I had relations with the goose. The sakles ligdula, and after that again I became a Rosh Yeshiva. Incredible. Okay, if one sees a chicken in his dream, he should await the birth of a boy. Tarnagol, if he sees more, in other words, a number of chickens, then Emir Hashem will have a number of sons. Tarnagolas, if he sees a hen, ultimately, again, one will have a beautiful garden, vigila, and he's going to go ahead and have simchas. Again, so this is a little bit, Rashi points out to her, this is a bit more of a play on words. So haroa beitzim mechalim, if one sees eggs in his dreams, so the Gemara says, Taluya bakashasa, it means that which he asked for is not immediately being granted. So again, Rashi points out over here, just like the egg is the chick inside of the shells, but again, it hasn't hatched yet. So too, again, the dream is kind of, the request, I should say, is being analyzed. It hasn't yet been decided if it's answered or not. The Chaburah, if in one's dream the eggs break, then that means his dream will come true. V'chein agozim, same thing for nuts. V'chein kishuim, same thing for cucumbers. V'chein kol kli zechuchis, any type of glass items. V'chein kol hanishbarn ke'elu, or for any dream that has something that is breakable in it. Meaning, so in all of these dreams, what it means is if the object is complete, then that means his request is still being looked at. But if it breaks, ultimately, again, that indicates that his dream is going to be fulfilled. The Gemara continues, Hanichnas likrach, if one has a dream and in his dream he enters into a city, Nasalo chafatzav, ultimately that means that his, whatever he's asking is going to be fulfilled. Shneamar, Vayanchem al machos chaftzam, Hamegalech rosh b'chalam. It's interesting, if somebody cuts his own hair in a dream, simin yafalo. So this is a good simin. Rasha is a kano, but if he cuts his hair and his beard, so lo ulachom mishpachto, then it's good for him and for his entire family as well. So what's the pshat? This is very interesting. Rashi points out over here that right before Yosef was appointed to his position of prominence as the second in command under Paro, so the pasuk says that he had a haircut. So a haircut therefore foreshadows greatness, and obviously if you're trimming the head and the beard, so that indicates greatness not just for the individual, but for his entire mishpacha. Hayoshe bari v'kitano. If somebody has a dream and he's sitting in a small boat, so the Gemara says Shem Tov Yotzelo. Ultimately, this means that he's going to have a good reputation. Okay, so what's the pshat? So the idea over here is, Rashi points out that just like, the boat travels, so too again, his name is going to travel. Alright, Bari V'Gidol is sitting in a big boat, Lo L'chom Mishpachto, then he's going to have a good name, and his family will have a good name also. V'hani Mili, the medallia daluye. Now this is only assuming that the boat is high, riding on the top of the waves. Beautiful. If one is having a dream in his dream, he took care of his physical needs in order to relieve himself. Simin yafalo. This is a good sign. Shne'emar miher tzor lehi paseach. So again, but this only applies if he didn't clean himself afterwards, didn't wipe himself. So the idea is, a person that goes to the bathroom, they relieve themselves. There's an incredible feeling of relief. So in a dream, what this indicates is that a person is going to have relief in life as well. Ha'ola lagag b'cholim. Someone goes up to a roof in a dream. Ola l'gdula. This shows that he's going to go up in greatness. Again, the ascension of greatness. Yarad, if he comes down from the roof in a dream, Yar migdula, so he's going to go ahead and come down from his greatness. Abai b'rav dermit harbayu, kevan sha'ala Allah. So Abai and Rav say very interesting that once a person has gone up to a heightened position, ultimately again he remains there. And even if he has a dream about going down, it doesn't impact him. If somebody tears his clothing in a dream, that's indicative that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is tearing up his divine decree. What an incredible and beautiful Gemara to be able to read, especially during these times. So Omid Aram B'Chalom, if somebody sees himself standing unclothed in a dream. So the Gemara says, Bibavel, this is interesting. So now here's what's fascinating is, this is the first time I think we see this in the Gemara, that the interpretation of your dream depends on where you are having the dream, right? Where is the dream itself actually occurring? So the Gemara says, if you have the dream in Bavel, that means Omeid Below Chet. That means that a person doesn't have any Averis. Beretz Yisrael, Adam Below Mitzvos. So again, in Bavel, without the clothing means, the clothing represents Chet. If you don't have clothing means you don't have Chet. In Eretz Yisrael, the clothing represents Mitzvos. And if you don't have clothing, then you don't have Mitzvos. You don't have Mitzvos. Quite interesting. Hanit Bas L'Sardiot. So again, if one's having a dream, and in the dream, he's arrested by a Roman officer, a Roman official. Shmir al-Nasislo means Chaburah who's watching over him. Nasnu b'kolar, but if in the dream he's put in chains, then Hosifalo Shmir al Shmir asa. That means Chaburah who's giving him even more shmir, even more security and protection. V'hani mili, but this is assuming b'kolar, that he sees himself in the chains. Aval chavla ba'al malo. But if it's just a regular rope, then this interpretation doesn't apply. Again, I've mentioned this a number of times, and I think what's so striking about this is so many of these dreams, so many of these things, like you read them and you're like, oh, this must be something bad. And really, like one of the most incredible and beautiful things is just to contemplate how these things that look so bad could in reality be something so beautiful. Nichnas la'agam b'cholam. So one goes into to like wetlands in a dream. Na'aseh Rosh Yeshiva. This means he's going to become a Rosh Yeshiva. Liyar, if he goes into a forest, Na'aseh Rosh Libnei Kalo. Then he's going to go ahead and become head of the Chaburah. Now, interestingly enough, that the Kalo, that Rashi points out over here, usually referred to more advanced Talmidim. So the idea is the marsh has like reeds of all different sizes, whereas the forest is a little bit more uniform. So the idea over here is if you enter into the marsh, it means that you're going to be the Rosh Yeshiva with a lot of different types of Talmidim. You go into the forest where there's a little bit greater uniformity, and ultimately again, you'll be head of the, elite Chaburah. Rav Papa, Rav Huna, Rav Yeshua, Chazu Chalmos. Rav Papa and Rav Huna, Rav Yeshua both saw a dream. Rav Papa, Da'ayel Agmo, Na'aseh Rosh Yeshiva. Rav Huna, Rav Yeshua, Da'ayel Liyar, Na'aseh Rosh Lebnei Kala. So the Gemara tells the story that this actually happened. Rav Papa saw in a dream that he went into the marsh and he became the Rosh Yeshiva. Rav Huna, Rav Yeshua saw that he had a dream he went into the forest and he became the head of the Kala. Iked Amri, others say, Tarvai La'agmi Aili, that both of them had dreams that they entered into a marsh. El Rav Papa, the Tali Tavla, Na'aseh Rosh Yeshiva. This is interesting. So Rav Papa apparently in the dream had a bell around his neck. He became the Rosh Yeshiva. Rav Huna Rav Yeshua Delo Tali Tavla Na'aseh Rosh Libnei Kala. Okay, so interesting. Now what's the pshat? So once again, the bell represents again kind of like the boat imagery as well about your reputation kind of going out. So the Rosh Yeshiva obviously has a greater reputation than the head of the Kala. Incredible. Rav Ashi, Ana Elisi Agmo. So Rav Ashi, once I had a dream that I went into a marsh, Utiloi Tavla, and I had a bell on my neck, Benavchi Ba Nevuchi, and I rang it a lot. I rang it a very lot. Now, interesting, so remembering in Rav Ashi, Rashi points out over here, Rav Ashi becomes a Rosh Yeshiva. Okay, Tani Tana Kamid Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Hamak is done b'chalom. If somebody does bloodletting in a dream, avonosav mechulalo. It means that his averos are forgiven. Vatanya avonosav sidurin. But we learned elsewhere that it means that his averos are arranged, meaning that ultimately, again in Shamayim, they're arranging his sins to prosecute. Then Sigmar says, My Sidurin, what does it mean when it says they're arranged? Sidurin the Mochel, it means that they're arranged to be forgiven. Tani Tana Kamid Rav Sheshas, Haroa Nachash B'chalom, if someone sees a snake in a dream, Parnasasu Mizu Meneslo, it means that his parnosa is prepared for him, because just like a snake eats dirt, and so wherever a snake goes, a snake has what to eat. So to a person sees this, it's a good omen. Harago, if he kills the snake in his dream, avda parnosaso, it means that halach l'mais, he's not going to have parnosa. Amud Yomi kol shekein shenichbala parnosaso. No, if he killed the snake, that's even a better idea, right? Certainly, again, so the snake, excuse me. killing the snake represents, I guess, like a sign of vitality. So that's even stronger than a person that parnasa. Belohi, Rav Sheshes because Rav Sheshes had a dream with a snake, v'katle, and he killed it in the dream. He killed it in the dream. Okay, so the Gemara is saying that's the only reason Rav Sheshes gave this interpretation. Tana Kamei Rabbi Yochanan. So it was taught in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Kol mini mashkin yafin l'chalam. Literally, again, if you see in your dream any types of drinks, those are all good things. Those are all good things, all good simonim. Chutz min hayayin, except if you drink wine. Yesh yoseh v'tovlo, v'yesh yoseh v'ralo. Sometimes you could have a dream about drinking wine and it's a good dream. Sometimes you have a dream about drinking wine and it's in a bad dream. Sometimes you have a dream, right? Sometimes you have a dream and it's good about drinking wine and it's good for you. Because wine makes a person happy. And sometimes you could have a dream and the drinking of wine is a bad omen. Where do you know that from? Literally, again, give sheikhar, give like an intoxicating beverage to one who is lost. To one who's lost, and wine to someone who is bitter. So interesting, so right? Wine could either represent someone besimcha, or wine could represent someone who is suffering and looking to drown their suffering. Rabbi Yochanan said to the Tana, Tani, Talmid Chacham li olam tovlo. Whenever a Talmid Chacham has a dream about wine, that's always a good siman. Shenemar, L'chu lachamu belachmi ushesu yayin masachti. Okay, we'll say Amud Beis, Nun Zayin Amud Beis 57b. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan says as follows: Hishkim v'nafal pasuk l'sof piv. If one woke up, this is actually very beautiful. If one woke up in the morning and he had a pasuk, in other words, he woke up with a pasuk on his lips, harizun nevuah kitano. This is a small prophecy. This is really a very beautiful idea that a person wake. First of all, just the idea of waking up in the morning and waking up with the pasuk on your lips, such a beautiful and magnificent idea. But it's also, Rashi points out over here that it's like a shtick prophecy, like it's a shtick. It's a little bit almost of a nevuah. The Gemara says a little bit of a nevuah. Tan Rabbanan, Shloshim Malachim Heim. There are, now, still with dreams. Now, in this case over here, we're talking about seeing certain kings, Jewish kings in your dream. Haro David b'chalam. If someone sees David HaMelech in his dream, Yitzapa lechasidus. Ultimately, he's going to become a chassid. He's going to become very, very pious. As the Gemara says, Yitzapa lechasidus. Shlomo, Yitzapa lechachma. If he sees Shlomo, then ultimately he's going to become wise. Achav, if he sees Achav, now Achav was a terrible Rasha, Yedag mena paranos, then he has to fear about punishments from Hashem. Shlosh Nevi'im heim. It's interesting now by the Nevi'im. If you see these Nevi'im in your dreams, it has importance. Hara Sefer Malachim. So again, this is actually talking about not as much one sees the prophet, but rather again the book, the actual. So in your dream, you see a Sefer Malachim. Yitzapel Gedula. So a person should eagerly anticipate that he's going to become important, just like Sefer Malachim is the book of Kings. Yecheskel Yitzapel Chachma. If you see Sefer Yecheskel in your dream, know that you're going to have wisdom. Yeshaya Yitzapel Nechama. So Yeshaya, you should anticipate that a person is going to have Nechama, going to have consolation, because again, remember, the whole idea of Yeshaya is consolation for Klal Yisrael, and ultimately, again, Yirmiyah Yidag Min HaParanos. But say for Yirmiyah, he should be afraid of maybe negative things that are going to occur. The logic behind that is that Yirmiyah speaks so much just about the negative things that could befall Klal Yisrael. All right, let's go weiter. It says, there are, what about the Ksuvim? So now that was if you see the Nevi'im. What about in Ksuvim? How do I Sefer tell him if a person sees in his dream Sefer Tehillim, Yitzap Elechasidus? See, he's going to become a chassid, very pious. Mishlei, person sees Mishlei, Yitzhak l'chachma. Remember again, Mishlei, we translate in English as Proverbs. These are the wise sayings of Shlomo HaMelech. Eov, what happens if Chas v'Shalom one sees Sefer Eov in his dream? Yidag min ha'paronos. He has to fear that maybe he's going to be punished. Shlosh Ksuvim ketanim heim. What about the smaller books in Ksuvim? So Hara Shir Hashirim b'chalam. If one sees Shir Hashirim in his dreams, Yitzap lechasidus. So again, that shows that he's going to become a chassid. Going to be chassid. Rashi points out because Shir Hashirim speaks about the love between Akash Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. So such a person is going to attain a very high level of relationship. Koheles, Yitzap l'chachma. One sees Sefer Koheles. Again, a lot of Solomonic wisdom in there. So ultimately, one should anticipate wisdom. Kinus, Yidag min ha'paranos. One sees a Sefer Kinus, right? Kinus, like Tisha B'Av Kinus. Then ultimately, again, he has to be fearful that there's going to be punishment. Hara Megillas Esther is beautiful. One who sees Megillas Esther, so in your dream you literally see Megillas Esther. Nes na'aselo. that means that a miracle is going to happen for him, just like happened in Megillah says. So Shlosha Chachamim, there are three wise men, three Talmidei Chachamim. Haroa Rebbe B'Chalam. If somebody sees Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Yitzap L'Chachma, he should eagerly anticipate wisdom. Wisdom. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi obviously again was the Gadol Hadar. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, if he's Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Yitzap L'Ashiros, then he should await wealth. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was incredibly wealthy. Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, so what happens if he sees in his dream Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha? So the Gemara says, Yid'ag min ha'paranos. So he has to be fearful, ultimately of punishment. Remember again, Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, he was one of the Asar Harugei Malchus. Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, who said, by the way, this is, the third wide line. I haven't told them where we are for a while. Third wide line, we're going a little bit quickly. Not of the widest lines, but of the intermediate lines. Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol was one of the Asar Harugei Malchus, one of the 10 martyrs. Shlosha Talmidei Chachamim. There are three Talmidei Chachamim. If we see them in a dream, it has meaning. Hara ben Azai b'Chalam. If someone sees ben Azai in his dream, Yitzapa lechasidus. Ultimately, he should go ahead and await chasidus piety. Ben Zoma. If he sees ben Zoma, Yitzapa lechachma. Acher. Acher is Elisha ben Avuya. Yidag min aparanos. Then he should be fearful, ultimately, again, of punishment. Remember, again, unfortunately, Acher Elisha ben Azariah, through Machlokis, exactly what happened, but ultimately ends up leaving the derech and doing terrible things. So in general, if you see animals in your dream, that's a good thing. Chutz min apil va'akov va'kipod, with the exception of an elephant, a monkey, and the weasel. But Mar said, that if one sees an elephant in a dream, so it's like a little bit of a play on words. Peel, Pella. Pella means like a wondrous thing. It means something dramatically amazing is going to happen. Lokashya, ha de misrug, ha de lo misarig. So it depends. It's interesting. Did the elephant have a saddle or didn't have a saddle? So apparently, if the elephant had a saddle, that's a good siman. I guess it means you've tamed the elephant. If the elephant doesn't have a saddle, that could be indicative that the animal is going to run everywhere and run over you. So what about if one dreams about metal? Right? What's metal items? So all in general, metal is a good omen. I guess the logic of it being that metal is productive. So it means you're going to see something that's going to be productive, or I should say, you see something that is productive. That's a siman that you're going to be productive. Chutz mimeser pesal v'kardum, with the exception of, mimar pesal v'kardum. So mar is like a shovel, right? Pesal, which is a type of knife. Also, it's Rashi points out there, it's a type of, or really also like in the shovel family, and kardum is an axe. But this is all assuming that you saw them with their handle. So there's the blade and the handle. All types of fruits are good to see in a dream. Chutz mipage tamra, except unripe dates. Kol minei yirakos. All types of vegetables are a good siman in a dream. Chutz meirashi liftos, with the exception of the tops of turnips. Interesting. Rav said, I only became wealthy after I saw the tops of turnips in my dream. So this seems to be a good omen. When did he see the turnips? When they still had their stems. Okay, so apparently again, that's the good siman. That's the good siman. All right. So the Gemara goes weiter. All in general colors are a good omen in a dream. Chutz min atcheles, except for tcheles, which is interesting, right? Very interesting. So the Gemara says, Kol minei ofos yafin l'chalam. Now Rashi points out there, by the way, that the tcheles is interesting because the idea is tcheles is like a bluish green. If a person were to have, Rashi points out, that color, that would be indicative of illness. Interesting. Kol minei ofos yafin l'chalam. Seeing all kinds of birds are good sign in a dream. Chutz Minkarya Vikifufa Vikorfai, with the exception of these particularly of aforementioned birds. Okay, so we'll say, so now the Gemara brings down a mnemonic. Let's begin. Shlosha Nichnasan Laguf. So we'll say, so now we are at the 2 dots in the intermediate wide line. So we are just counting it up. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 lines into the intermediate wide lines. Gimel, Shlosha Nichnasan Laguf. So there are 3 things that enter the body, but the body does not get any benefit from them. What are those things? Good Gudonios, Kafnios, Upagi Tamro. So good Gudonios are cherries, Kafnios are unripe dates. Kafionos are bad dates, and Pagi Tamra are unripe dates. Okay, so these provide absolutely no benefit to the body. There are 3 things that don't enter the body, and yet and these are the things that the body gets benefit from. What are they? Rechitza, sicha, v'tashmish. So washing, smearing oil, and interestingly enough, tashmish in this context, it literally uses. It's interesting because. Yeah, whatever. We'll just go with the simple idea that tashmish over here means tashmish amita, but it could also mean, it's actually interesting. It could also mean tashmish amita could also mean just physical activity. I should say tashmish could mean physical activity. Okay, shlosha me'ein olam haba. There are 3 things that are as pleasurable as the world to come. Eluhain, Shabbos, Shemesh, and Tashmish. Very interesting. So Shabbos, Me'in Olam Habo, Shemesh, the sun, and Tashmish. So once again, the Gemara asks, Tashmish Demai. What Tashmish are you talking about? Ilim Tashmish Amita. If you're talking about it's intimacy, relations, so Michash Kachish. So remember again, the act of relations weakens a person. In other words, as pleasurable as Tashmish may be, it saps a person of their strength. Ela Tashmish Nekavim. So this is very interesting. Rather, it's talking about relieving yourself, which is fascinating. So now, kind of plugging this back a little bit, the Gemara seems to say that those 3 things that don't enter the body, but the body benefits from them. So tashmish could mean tashmish amita, or it could also mean, again, relieving oneself. Or similarly, again, 3 things that are me'ein olam haba. It's actually interesting. Maybe it refers to relieving oneself. Again, person has to relieve themselves and then has the ability to do that. So there's a tremendous amount of relief. Shlosha mishiven dait al sha'adam. There are 3 things that give a person inner tranquility. Eluhain, kol mara v'reach, a pleasant sound, right? Something pleasant to look at and a pleasant smell. These things go ahead and calm a person down. Very beautiful. So there are 3 things that allow a person. Marchivin literally means like expand the mindset of a person. And what are they? Eluhain, dira noah, a beautiful home. Isha noah, a beautiful wife. V'kelim noah, beautiful furnishings. So this is actually a fascinating Gemara. So the Gemara saying is like this, that sometimes in life, in order for a person to kind of think big, their basic everyday needs have to be met. In other words, if I'm preoccupied with just meeting my everyday needs, it's going to be very hard for me to have any bigger aspirations or any bigger goals. So the Gemara says, if a person has a beautiful home, right? So therefore, again, my physical dwelling is nice and beautiful furnishings, right? Beautiful kalim, and Ishana and a beautiful wife. It means that a person's needs in this world are cared for. Well, once my needs in this world are cared for, then what? Then I have the ability to think bigger in life. My needs are met, and therefore I can think bigger. Pretty incredible. Let's go weiter a little bit. Chamisha echa mishishim. This is a very interesting Gemara over here. There are 5 things that are a 60th of something else. Now, what does this mean? For example, Elohein, Eish, Devash, V'Shabis, V'Shena, V'Cholam. All right, so what does this mean? Eish, a fire, like the heat of a fire, is 1/60th of the heat of Gehenna. Wow. Devash, honey, is as sweet, 1/60th as sweet as the man. Shabbos, Shabbos is 1/60th of the pleasure, of the joy, of the beauty of the world to come. Shena, sleep is 1/60th of death. The cholam, and a dream is 1/60th of prophecy. There are 6 things that are a good sign for a sick person. Elohein, itush, zeya, shulshul, kari, v'shena. All right, so what are these 6 things? So itosh means sneezing. Zea means sweating. Shulshul means like diarrhea. Keri is a seminal discharge. And shena, and sleep. And dreaming. Itush tefsiv. Now again, the Gemara just goes through each of these with a pasuk. See itush. What happens by itush? Ashtiosav tal ar zeya dichsiv b'zeh safecha toch alachem shulshul dichsiv mihar tzoa lihi pasech v'lo yomos l'shachas keri dichsiv yira zera yarich yomim shena dichsiv yashanti az yanuach li chalom dichsiv atachlimeni v'hachiyeni shisha devarim rabban esachol mechalyo. There are 6 things which help a person become better, or refuah. And not only do they make a person better, but it's a complete refuah. Elohim, these are the 6 things: kruv, cabbage; tradin, beets; sisin, yeveshim. So this is some type of herb, dried herb. The keva, so the stomach of an animal. The heres, the womb of an animal. The oseres hakaved, and the animal's diaphragm. Apparently all of these have curative abilities. Af dogim kitanim, small fish, v'lo od, ela shedogim kitanim mafrin umarbin kol gufo sha'adam. In general, apparently the consumption of small fish is good. It adds to one's vitality and strength. There are 10 things where if you do them, so it's going to make you sick. Or I should say, it goes ahead and it makes a person sick again, and the sickness is even more severe. What are these 10 things? Ve'eluhein, ha'ochel basar shar, if one eats the meat of an ox; basar shamin, fatty meat; basar tzli, roasted meat; basar tziporim, so foul meat, not F-O-U-L, but F-O-W-L, foul meat; ubeitza tzuluya, roasted egg; v'tiglachas, or shaving; v'shachalayim, that's cress; v'chalav, milk; gvina, cheese; merchatz, bathing; v'yesh omrim, af egozim, nuts; v'yesh omrim, af kishum, also cucumbers. So interestingly enough, and all of these different things. So apparently, these are incredibly detrimental. If a person is already not feeling well, these will return you to a state of sickness. Time to bury Bishmal. Lama nikra shma kishuim. Why are cucumbers called kishuim? Because they are as bad for the body as swords. Incredible. Ini is that so boxiv. Vayomer Hashem lashne goyim bevitneich atikri goyim elegayim. But yet again, when Tamar was pregnant, when Rivka was pregnant, so she goes to find out what's going on over here, and she is told at the yeshiva of Shem Va'ever that she has 2 nations in her womb. So the Gemara says, Al tikri goyim elegayim. Don't read it goyim, but rather read it as people with pride. 2, right? Va'amar Rav Yehuda Amarav, Elo Antigonus Rebbe. This refers to, Antoninos and Rebbe. So remember again, Antoninos was one of the Roman emperors. So they are both wealthy and both very famous, and both of them always had radishes and cucumbers on their table. Both in the summer and the rainy season, they always had this on their table. So you see, the cucumbers are a good thing. So apparently, again, it depends on the size of the cucumber, right? So the good cucumbers, the healthy cucumbers, are the small ones. The larger ones are apparently detrimental. Tan Rabbanon, Meis babayis, Shalom babayis. Interesting. If you have a dream, so back to dreams for just a little bit. If you have a dream, so ultimately again of a corpse in the house, that means there's going to be Shalom in the house, which is interesting. In other words, that because the mace is b'shalom, so having a dream of a mace in your home indicates that there's going to be shalom. Achal v'shasa babayis. But if it ate and drank in the house, simin yafal babayis. That's a good sign for the house. Natul kelim in abayis. If the mace took utensils from the home, simin ra. That's a bad simin. That's only if the mace took a shoe or sandals. Called the shakal shechva mali. Bar son of a sandla, called the Yavshikimali Bar Me Afra Vachardla, because in general the way it works apparently with corpse dreams, is that anything that a corpse takes from a home is a good thing, except if it takes your shoes, right? Which makes sense, because halacha l'maisa shoe is a way that you have mobility. If the corpse is taking the shoe, that chasshol means that a person's mobility is coming to an end, i.e. death. Similarly, again, anything that a corpse brings to us in the dream is good, except for dirt or mustard seed. So the dirt ultimately, again, the dirt and the mustard seed both represent death. So the corpse bringing these items to the house ultimately indicates that something unfortunate is going to occur. All right, I will say shkoyach. Okay, a little bit longer. Sorry that we didn't have a chance to have a live shir today, but Baruch Hashem, we're making up a little bit of ground. So again, we stopped at the 2 dots, the Tan Rabban and the Miras Hashem. We will pick up here tomorrow's shir. Wishing everyone a wonderful evening.